You've been concentrating for hours. Maybe you've been studying, working on a complex task, trying to solve a difficult problem. At first, your mind feels sharp. Your thoughts are organized. Decisions feel clear. But after a while, something begins to change. Your focus becomes weaker. Small distractions feel harder to ignore. Even simple tasks start to feel mentally heavy. Eventually, your brain begins resisting the effort altogether. You may feel the urge to stop working, to scroll your phone, or simply to rest. This experience is often described as mental exhaustion. But what exactly is happening inside the brain when this occurs? Why does intense thinking eventually lead to cognitive fatigue? To understand this, we need to look at how the brain manages attention and energy. Because sustained thinking is one of the most demanding things the brain can do. When you concentrate on a task, several neural systems become highly active. One of the most important regions involved is the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex sits at the front of the brain and is responsible for complex cognitive functions. Planning, decision-making, problem-solving, maintaining focus on long-term goals. When you are deeply concentrating, this region coordinates large networks of neurons. It suppresses distractions, holds information in working memory, and directs attention toward the task at hand. But here's where it gets interesting. These processes require continuous neural signaling, and continuous neural signaling requires energy. Neurons communicate through electrical impulses and chemical signals. Each signal involves the movement of charged particles across cell membranes. Maintaining these electrical states requires constant energy supplied by cellular metabolism. But the brain does something even more complex. As neural activity continues for long periods, certain metabolic byproducts begin to accumulate. One important molecule involved in this process is glutamate. Glutamate is the brain's primary excitatory neurotransmitter. It helps neurons communicate and activate networks involved in cognition. However, during intense mental effort, glutamate can gradually build up in regions such as the prefrontal cortex, and this leads to an unexpected effect. High levels of glutamate may begin interfering with efficient neural signaling. In response, the brain gradually reduces activity in these circuits. This reduction appears subjectively as mental fatigue. In other words, the brain is protecting itself. It is preventing excessive neural activity that could disrupt cellular balance. But the brain doesn't stop there. As cognitive fatigue increases, the brain begins shifting control toward other systems. Habit-based networks located in deeper brain regions may begin influencing behavior more strongly. These systems require less cognitive effort. This is why mentally exhausted people often rely more on automatic habits rather than careful reasoning. Decision-making may become simpler. Impulsive choices may increase. The brain is conserving resources, but the brain does something even more fascinating. Mental fatigue is not only a signal of energy depletion, it is also a signal that neural systems need time to restore balance. Rest allows neurotransmitter levels to normalize. Energy molecules such as ATP can be replenished. Neural circuits can recover their sensitivity. Sleep plays an especially important role in this process. During sleep, the brain performs large-scale maintenance. Metabolic waste products are cleared. Neural connections are reorganized. Energy systems are restored. But even short breaks during the day can allow neural circuits to reset. From an evolutionary perspective, this mechanism makes perfect sense. The brain is an extremely energy-intensive organ. If it operated at maximum intensity continuously, cellular damage could occur. So the brain evolved protective systems that regulate cognitive effort. Mental fatigue is one of those systems. It signals when the brain needs recovery. But once you understand how this process works, something important becomes clear. Mental exhaustion is not a failure of discipline. It is a biological signal. Your brain is regulating its internal balance, protecting neural circuits from excessive activity, and maintaining long-term cognitive function. By the way, if you're interested in understanding how the brain and body actually work, this channel explores the science behind those systems. Many everyday experiences become easier to understand once we examine the biological mechanisms behind them. And mental fatigue is one of the clearest examples. Your brain is incredibly powerful, but like any complex system, it operates best when effort is balanced with recovery. Vera explains the science behind how the human system works. Subscribe if you're curious about the biology of being human.